Okay, so in this clip, we're going to talk about Trello. We use Trello for task management, and basically it's a glorified to-do list. It's got some features that we'll jump into. And the reason we use Trello is because it's relatively simple. We've gone the other way using ClickUp extensively. And the problem with those sort of more complicated tools is you wind up managing the tool much more than you wind up managing projects or tasks. That's really not what we want. And so we do think about really projects as sort of collections of tasks, right? And we use Claude or Gemini, which are both frontier AI models, to govern those using a combination of chat output, spreadsheets, basically, standard operating procedures, and then Trello. So Trello, there's a couple of things sort of that lie philosophically around our approach to Trello. One thing is we try and get everyone who's relevant to a particular person's activity. We share the board with them. So in a sense that the boards are public, and one of the consequences of that is anyone can assign a task to anybody. So if you need something, one good way to handle that is to put it in Trello, and then just sort of follow, best practices with that. And then what you might want to do is if you feel like it might get missed, like my board's just bursting with tasks, you might want to just copy the task link in Discord and just send that over. So it's one thing. People can see information in boards, and anyone can assign a task to anybody else. It's not a top-down thing. So, tasks can bubble up, tasks can be adjacent, so you can send it over to your colleagues or whatever. You can copy tasks to two boards at once, actually. So it's pretty flexible that way. The other thing to sort of bear in mind is that, we do, try and adhere to the deadline. So if we're working on this, we want to just make sure that we're updating these. And if you're waiting for input or you need information or to do what you need to do, again, just raise your hand in the Discord, because sometimes things get away from us. Okay, so we'll look at Jervy's board. I think it's probably a pretty good example. So typically, your boards are going to be set up in the following fashion with lists. And those lists contain cards. So in this list, we typically have resources. So that's information that you need to refer back to repeatedly. So if we've got like playbooks that we've constructed in Claude, or we have trackers, those would kind of live there. And then we have pending tasks. So that's where assigned tasks come in. And you want to check that pending, a couple of times a day at a minimum. If you're looking for stuff to do, this would be a good place to find it. Working is when you've started a project and you've pulled it in there, and we'll debone this a little bit. This is turning into a more extensive project, so we need to adjust the deadline here. Things in review. Items in review are tasks where they're pretty much ready to go and they just need to be looked at. And usually that's on me. So this is for me. I need to review these and clear these out here. And then close. So I'm sort of not using this as much. So I don't think I've added these to the new ones because there's no reason to have anything lingering and close unless you want to go back and find those cards again. But you can recover things from the archive. So resources, pending, working, in review, and then on hold. So sometimes, for example, this setup in Attio, that's got a lot of dependencies that we didn't expect. So what we would do is we just put this on hold, and then I would go ahead and just for a good housekeeping, just go ahead and remove the deadline or due date, much more friendly term. So it's kind of it. Those are really the list to be aware of, and that makes it very clean. So there's really no confusion. Pending, it's waiting for you to grab and work on it. Working, you're actively working on the task. In review, You've submitted it in for to be reviewed. And then on hold are just things where we found things that we can't quite handle. These probably could use a little bit more scrutiny just to clear these out. So a lot of times we get into a project and we realize that we can't do it, or there's some stuff we need to do before we do that. So in terms of tagline, so this is a very simple one where I've just assigned a bit of information to Jeremy. He's put it in review, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And then, but he's also marked it complete. So you can create a provisional complete when you think it's done, and then usually it's on me to go ahead and finish this off. And the way that works is I just archive it, and then it just disappears from view. So in this case, here's one where I think there might be more. This just a simple task. So one of the things that's kind of nice well, actually, let me back up. So when you're working on these cards, there's a few things that are pertinent. So there's the members whoever's working on this. People can share, like, so you can add 2 people to it. So I can just add myself, which is another way to watch it. There's labels that we have that's imperfectly applied. I'll get that sorted out sooner rather than later. And what that does is that's a future looking activity, so that when for certain kinds of automation, we need to make sure that our data is quite structured, and so the labels allow us to structure that. So there's brands, right? So we do work with Current Daily, that's a client. Heartland's a client. Radiology Data's a client. Unica can be thought of as just a house brand. And then there's a series of other codes of like what's actually happened, right? Whether it's administration, planning, design, operations, those sorts of things. So those haven't been completed yet. Sorry, they have. So administration, planning, reporting, and operations, content, outreach. So ideally, we would apply that label. Try again here. It's kind of an administrative task for search. And then, as I said, we need to adjust that. So that's gone a little over what we thought it might be. So maybe we can apply that 14th. Also, the scope has changed as well. So it's like crazy there. So within that card, you have that. You have the ability to add checklists, which is sort of nice. So if it's a structured task that's done repetitively, you can add a checklist to that, and then you could save that checklist, which is nice. That's very useful. So again, if you're assigning a task and you want to, and there's certain things that need to be done to accomplish that, and you're clear on those steps, you can add that as a checklist. You can also add other items in the checklist if you see fit. You can provide a description. It's straightforward. You do need to remember to save these because you can exit. You can exit the task without saving that. And what that does is it's you'll see that that's unsaved changes. If they're unsaved changes, what that means is no one else can see what you've done. But it is persistent, so it's not like you've lost that information. But you do need to make sure to save it off so that it will broadcast out to everyone who's associated with that task. There are attachments, so you can just drag and drop anything you want in there. That's pretty common, screenshots and all that. And then you can communicate. So in this case, I can say to Jervy, at Jervy, And that, depending on how you're configured for your notifications, what that's probably going to do is it's gonna live on the card so you can see it, but it will also drop an email to you. So if those happen, I think it patches those out. Okay, so that's really the card anatomy. We've talked about board anatomy, pretty straightforward. We've also talked about sort of the philosophy of working, using these things. So the point is, also when you're setting up tasks, you want to what I call setting the table, right? So if it references like a document in Google Docs or spreadsheet or a website or something like that, you want to go ahead and add that into the card so that people don't have to go running around looking for stuff. So if there's a logo involved or that sort of stuff, you just drop it in the card and it's all there, so that whoever's working on the task can easily access. That's about it. That's about all there is to know about Trello.